Okay, so in here we have the first of 5 chambers of the mill dungeon. This is where the buying and the selling of the slaves took place.
Right, it's pitch black in here, boy.
And once you brought in here, that was your end. The painful bit is, if at a point in time, let's just say 10 people decided to try to escape and they were all caught. Once they were brought in here, until the last man amongst them dies, nobody leaves this room. Visiting the Kipus Castle. To some people, it is just amusement, fun, relaxation. To some, this is a spiritual pilgrimage to get them to reconnect to their roots and their ancestry. Famous door of no return. Passing through this door as an enslaved African, that was your end. You lose your rights as a human being, you lose your dignity, your roots. Let's see what lies beyond the door of no return. We thank God we are not slaves, we are set to return.
Cape Coast.
Yeah, you're en route. Alright, it's gonna be emotional.
Corey, are you here?
For real, here's one. So where was he on the bridge? He didn't want to show up, huh?
You know,
he was scared of heights. Yeah, now we're en route. Let's go.
Let's go.
So what is this?
This is the palm nut. So this is what you do the palm oil from.
Okay.
Yeah.
if you want to do the family,
Let them open it for you so see.
you boil it.
What, palm oil?
Let me yeah. Hey. Mpacho mumbia so kakra mami why? Mumbia dia so kakra mami. Miba bia so mami why? Debbie, me take a picture now. Me take a picture. Mumbia so kakra mami. Nan mi pacho. Yes, you see? You see? Now you can see it. So that's it.
Okay.
So this is the palm oil.
Natural resources.
This is natural results, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah?
That's cool.
Quantity.
That's you.
Well, good.
Provide you a guided tour.
I'll be a guide today. Feel free to ask questions, suggestions, opinions. Right. So, Kipus Castle is one of 3 castles in Ghana. We have first Elmina Castle by the Portuguese in the year 1482. Second, Christian Castle Nusu by the Danes, 1661. And Kipus Castle by the British in the year 1664. So then, what is the transatlantic slave trade? It is European traders sailing to Africa for human capital, taking them to the Americans to work on plantations, some to Europe and back to Africa again. So what is a triangular trade from Europe to Africa, Africa to America, Europe, with the sea being the middle passage. How would this trade come about? You see, because the Arabs are nomads, they were dominating the trade markets then. They were more of middlemen getting products, commodities from the source and trading them to the Europeans. So in a bid to break that Arab dominance and monopoly over the trade markets, they try to set sail, finding an alternative sea route to Asia, where they would get the direct source, silk, the spices, all that they need. They come across the coast of West Africa and realize that they have in excess what they need and a huge deposit of gold. Yeah, so they would set up trade posts along the shores. Along the line, Christopher Columbus would claim to have discovered the New World. They would set up plantations there, use the natives there. They call them the Red Indies to work on these plantations. Because of imported pathogens, these guys will start to die off because of the pathogens. A priest by the name Bartholomew de las Casas, a Catholic priest, would suggest to them, why don't we come in for these Africans? They are strong, their bodies can withstand these tropical conditions, and they are equally farmers. So then, let's come in for these Africans to work on these plantations.
But how did the priests know that?
Because they were trading. At that point in time, now they are trading with us. It was
normal trading. Okay.
So it is
the snake then.
The human capital bit, the human commodity bit was the plantations there. They needed human beings to work there. They needed the human capital to work there. So he would suggest to them. Once they agreed, they start with raid, where they would storm towns, set the towns ablaze. As people would run helter-skelter for them to take their lives, they would be captured. But because of the ever-growing demand there,
for more people,
it would be this way. They would have to befriend certain African people to do the hunting and the kidnapping for them. So it gets to a time they would have African hunters
hunting their own people,
bringing in these people in exchange for goods like gunpowder, shackles, chains, liquor, tobacco, tin food, among other European commodities. Mind you, before the Europeans came to Africa, Africa was a bare land. We didn't have any political demarcations. We lived in clans, family, ethnic groups, and all that. And how powerful you were was dependent on your size. So we were always at each other's throats. The more you fight, so how would they capitalize on this? Befriend certain clans, empower them with superior weapons, let them fight themselves. At the end of the day, they would bring their captives and the prisoners of war. So at a point in time, we would have African hunters bringing in these slaves. They are prisoners of war, they are captives of war. They would march them to the castle. They would capture these slaves across West Africa in chains and in shackles. They would march them southwards. Before you get to the castle, there is a town called Asenmanso. That is where they take their last and final part as Africans. They would have their hairs and their beards cleared. Why? It is to disguise greed. If you came here as an old man, you probably wouldn't fetch a better price. So they shave you clean, smear your skin with shea butter for you to look young and fresh.
That's crazy.
March into the castle. Here the first point of call is the Palava Hall. That is where they would have a medical examination for the slaves to categorize them into domestic slaves and commercial slaves. Domestic ones would stay back to be working in the castle. The commercial slaves would be the ones they would ship to work on these plantations. Once that was done, they are brought to the forecourt for what they call the branding. The branding would have the companies, the logo of the company purchasing the slave beneath the metal. They would heat it red hot in fire and to pump on the street on the chest of them. Ladies would have theirs on their shoulder or their back. Some would have portions of their ears cut off for easy identification. Once that was done, the men would move here. The women 100 meters from here is the female slave down here to await shipment. It is important to note that being here, you would spend between a day to 3 months, depending on when you were brought in here and when the next ship arrives. Why? You see, today we have propellers in ships, but how long does it take for the ship to move from the US
come back?
to Africa? And I mentioned that it is a trade where they will move from Europe to Africa, Africa to America, back to Europe, then Africa again. So if you are brought in today, and the ship should come today or tomorrow, you could just spend a day or two. But if you're brought in today and the ship left yesterday, you have to wait for the next ship. The history has it that some would leave here partially or permanently blind.
Yeah, because you stand in darkness, innit?
How many could they fit in here?
Yeah, we'll talk about that. And above, you'll be kept with the men. That is if you're
13.
Below, you'll be kept with
The women. So from 13-year-old,
you examine how young you probably are, then you'll be kept with the women.
It's crazy, man.
Please.
It's not there, but you got a light on it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay, so in here we have the first of 5 chambers of the male dungeon. The male dungeon has 5 chambers. This is the first chamber.
Okay.
This will be the only sort of light and ventilation for them. That is why I had to put on the lights for us to have the field. This room was always underlocked because it was considered to be the room for the aggressive men. I mentioned that most of them were captives of war. So they were warriors, some would be rebellious. So this was where they considered the men that were aggressive. That is where they kept it. Every chamber is estimated to hold between 150 to 200 men. That is to say, once the entire dungeon is full, we have between 700 to 1,000 men down here. In here, you would eat, you would sleep, you urinate, you defecate, you do everything in here. Mind you, they use these enslaved Africans to mount this edifice. So at a point in time, they would bring guys outside to work. But if you were considered to be aggressive, then you are not going out.
Okay.
So we would do everything in here until the next ship comes. We see trenches in the middle and at the edge. They believe rainwater should come through this opening and wash the feces and the urine into the sea. But my question to you is, how many times does it rain?
Yeah, don't.
How many times does it rain in a month? So definitely the place will be choked. People will get sick, some will die. If as an enslaved African you were found dead in the dungeon, he packed them in sacks, load them with stones in the street into the sea. That is to say, no enslaved African was given a fitting burial here in the castle.
What was the last bit? What did you just say?
I'm saying no enslaved African was given a fitting burial here in the castle. Once you die, you go straight into the sea.
That's crazy, man.
In the year 1974, a group of archaeologists from the University of Ghana came to excavate this place. This is when we realized that the initial floors of the castle where we stand on were made of bricks. Coming here earlier, you see, please come this way. You'll see this parchment. This is exactly what we're walking on from the second to the fifth chambers. These are compacted or solidified human waste. After test work was conducted from the samples, realized that it's feces, urine, sweat, tears, blood, food particles, and dust.
This?
Yes. So they left these portions unexcavated as well as the other chambers. So if we have doubters amongst our groups, you could pick samples, have them tested to see if you get human DNA.
Man.
This is the first chamber of the middle dungeon. Do we have any questions? Let's see the other chambers.
This number's the third one?
Yes, the third one. And it would interest you to note that right on top of this very chamber is a church, Society for the Propagation of the Gospel, presently the Anglican Church. So, as people were down here dying, some were up there listening to love your neighbor as yourself, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery. This is a spy hole that is right in front of the church. So before you enter the church to pray, before you enter the church to listen to the gospel, you would actually see some of the slaves. You would smell them, you would hear them cry before you enter the church to pray. Some historians say that some, before entering the church, would come with breadcrumbs, leftovers, to drop them in. At least that is a little good they did before church.
How often did the slaves get fed down here?
Twice, I mentioned twice a week.
Twice?
Yes, mainly carbohydrates rich food, just to sustain them.
Okay.
Let's see the fifth shape. Over here we have the fifth and final chamber of the middle dungeon. You realize that here we have no bulbs here, but the place is still very bright. This is where they left for the sorting out of the slaves. I mentioned that they were branded. So before shipment, you'd have to sort them out. This set of slaves belonged to this particular company. They left this side very bright. From this end to that end was an entrance to an underground tunnel that would lead to the door of no return, where the women would join for shipment. It was sealed in the year 1834, supervised by Captain George McLean, to mark the end of the trade here in the castle. These reeds we see around are brought in by tourists like yourselves to pay their last respect to those who died in here. In as much as their bodies were thrown into the sea, we believe that their souls remain here in the castle. So we keep them here to another day. The opening here was left as such, so that once it was time for shipment, if you're considered too weak to make the trip, you're kept in here. If you die, you go straight into the sea. If you survive, then you wait for the next ship. That is to say, your survival in here was dependent on your immune system and not any medication you're given. If this was an entrance to an underground tunnel, then why do we have this here?
Yeah.
That is to say, this is not an initial part of the edifice. Where we stand today is a shrine. This is the altar of the god of the Fanti. He's the leader of the 77 deities of the Fanti land. No Africans believe in the African form of worship. Believe in trees, rocks, rivers. So, out of the 77 deities of the Fanti land, this is the leader. His name is Nana Tabre. Before the land was given to the Europeans, where we stand today used to be a resting place of a huge rock. We'll see portions of the rock as we progress the top. So the rock was the god of the natives. But when the land was being given to the Europeans, those who worshipped that rock would carve 2 portions of the stone, take it into the township to continue their worship. As the trade ended after colonization, the castle was given back to Ghanaians. They saw it wise to return their god to its initial position. So this is the priest in charge of the shrine. He said he wanted to demonstrate how the African prayer is libation.
I realize I'm going to come over so I some. We have to solve this upon man. We have to put my book and say, second, one and a word will know Papa, born ban, what will you do with the lion one? What was your lion share from one? What was it to bed? Because of the floor,
so what he did was a libation. He prayed to the God to bless you, and then you came with vehicles. Those who are students amongst them, whatever you study, you should be able to recollect, to be fruitful in whatever you do. And as you came with vehicles, if you are going back, then God should lead you safely to your destination. Alright, so this is the leader of the 77 deities of the Fanti land. The stools we see here belong to those who come here to worship. It is still an active shrine. The money we see there are tokens from tourists as well, more like offerings from those who believe in that form of worship. Alright, so the 5th chamber of the Middle Garden. Here we have the Palava Hall. This is where the buying and the selling of the slaves took place. We have the merchants here. We have the hunters around. After medical examination, once they were categorized into domestic and commercial slaves, then the auction began. I mentioned that goods exchange hunter was a barter system. So then they would parade them, then people would bid with mirror, whiskey, tobacco, other European commodities to exchange them for the human beings.
Just little commodities like that.
Yes. The same
Crazy.
hall would house the Fanti chiefs together with the government that would sign the bond of 1844 that delivered Ghana back into a much intelligent form of slavery, that is the colonization.
Okay.
So the Palava.
That's crazy, man. Just so in here, this is where slaves were actually sold. It's mad. For little commodities like whiskey and tobacco, you know. Evil, man.
50 soldiers here in Castle. This, the art shop, would be the barracks or the garrison for the soldiers. The center part was the canteen. After independence, this place would be the first prison yard for Ghana. But in the year 1992, people start to agitate. This is the same place they enslaved our ancestors. How can you imprison Africans here?
Yeah, it's mad.
In 1992, they would relocate the prisons to Ankafor. So today it is the art shop of the castle. The center part is the coffee shop of the castle. Please come this way, let's see the fort I mentioned. This is Fort William. This is one of the forts yes, the British mounted to protect this castle. So this was to serve as a watchdog over the castle. Once they saw enemy ships coming or intruders coming from the land, they would alert. There is a communication room in the castle. In the morning they would use red flags, afternoon they would use mirror, reflections from mirror. In the evening time they would use torch. The soldier picking the signal would alert them. They would mount these cannon guns, push pump in gunpowder and pushing these bombs. Lighting a match at the back, they would shoot perforating holes in the incoming ships so it would sink before it comes. The big ones travel 800 meters, the middle one 400,
What,
the short ones,
the cannons?
the mortar, yeah. The mortar travels just 100 meters, but that one is a very powerful one because it has huge balls with gunpowder inside. Once it hits the ship, it explodes.
Were those the big hollowed out ones that are
Those
standing
dance.
over there?
Yeah.
Oh, let's see the communication room then the governor's first.
So can you explain
Yeah.
how many hands this? You said
It
five
exchanged
different-
5 times. First the Portuguese, the Swiss, the Danes, the Dutch, then finally the British. But the British were able to stay here from 1664 till 1960 because they mounted
16. How many years is that?
1664. It's more than 200 years.
It's crazy.
Yeah, 200 years. And this was because they came with these cannon guns and cannonballs as well, mounted these forts to protect the castle. There's a communication room to pick the signals from the fort. Standing here, you realize it points directly to the fort. And light travels on a straight line. So once they position the mirror, hit straight to the wall. Then the soldier picks the signal. Standing here, realize it faces directly to the fort.
That's mad.
Oh, yeah. Man.
So what? They would use like a mirror to use reflection.
From there is a hole from up there that faces directly to this one. So once they position it, it hits. Picking the reflections from here, they'll just alert.
And that's why they do it midday because the sun's high, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
So let's see the governor's residence. And from this end, right up there, are original pitch pine wood. These are part of the original setup of the castle.
What is?
Yes, these are original.
They want to be in there.
Are still original pitch pine, part of the initial setup of the castle.
Oh, so these ones are.
But crossing
Yeah,
this
it's not
end
touched.
is replaced.
Sorry.
These are Udum from Ghana.
Oh, these are replaced.
Yes, these are Udum from Ghana. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if you counted the number of small openings on the walls in the mill report. The entire mill dungeon had just 9.
9.
So 9 holes, 7 as light and ventilation for.
But then they've got
700
big windows.
1,000 men. Whilst at every point in time we had just one governor in the castle.
Yeah.
So this would be the living room or the hall for just one man. 9
Mad.
windows.
Oh, so he's got 9 windows himself. What did they? Wait. Is that?
Just the living room.
But did he purposely do 9 because of the?
Well, it should tell you how well ventilated he wanted his space.
Yeah. It's absolutely crazy, man.
This is his bedroom. Extra 5 rooms.
How?
Bedroom, extra 5 windows.
This is a bedroom.
It's 40.
So 14 windows in total for him to.
It's mad.
Extra at the corner, making 16.
What? And it's just him by himself.
There's the closet.
And whoever was laying with
16
him.
windows.
Oh yeah, his mistress and that.
16 windows for 1 man.
It's crazy, man.
So this is his reception area. Receives entertaining guests here. The office.
And what's in his office?
This is his whole pack.
Let's see the other, the second fort. That's the second fort that served as
Oh
the
yes.
watchdog. That
I see
is
it.
Fort Victoria. The whole point straight to the fort. This was the
This is just strictly for the mixed race children.
This was a classroom block for them.
Mad.
They would go to the aristocrats we had in the community. Some themselves became slave merchants.
And what did you call them? Milan?
Mulattoes. Yeah.
Please watch your head as you enter. Watch your head.
No, me, I'm gonna knock mine.
This is going to be a bit bad still.
Please watch your head.
Right, it's pitch black in here, boy. Yeah, this is mad. It's mad. It's mad. Yeah, shine your torch over there. I can't even. So what? These are just the holding cell. The cell.
Jeez, man. So in here we have the male punishment cell, condemned cell, otherwise known as the room of no return. Once you entered this room, that was your end. The door we see outside is the only original door left in the castle. That door is close to 600 years. It's made of pitch pine wood with a cover made of copper, very solid. That is the only original door left in the castle. All the doors and the windows in the castle have been replaced. They had 3 of such doors. The first one there, the second in the middle, and the third here. And once all these doors were shut, that was your end. We are here a little over 2 minutes. We are sweating. So you can imagine being locked here with all 3 doors.
Yeah.
And how many people were they put in
Yes,
here?
I mentioned in the introduction that most of these slaves were prisoners of war, captives of war.
Yes.
As you see, some were warriors and all that. You know, a warrior wouldn't go down without a fight.
Yeah.
If you were considered rebellious, trying to escape, being too troublesome, you'd be given a good beating at the forecourts and you'd be brought in here. And once you were brought in here, that was your end. The painful bit is, if at a point in time, let's just say 10 people decided to try to escape and they were all caught. Once they were brought in here, until the last man amongst them dies, nobody leaves this room. That is to say, if we bring them in here, they come later to inspect. 5 out of the 10 are dead. The 5 dead, together with the 5 living, will be reloaded until the last man amongst them dies. Assuming if you are resilient enough to stay alive for like 3 to 4 days, I doubt you'll be able to. But then, assuming if you are resilient enough to stay alive that long, you have to endure the stench of rotting people. Once they confirm everyone is dead, they drag them outside, parade them at the forecourt, march the men to come and inspect them. This is to serve as a deterrent to those living. And to break you mentally that if you decide to escape,
Make an example.
This is what happens to you.
But do they die from so the beating that they have from outside in the forecourt?
No, they just beat you up to weaken you, then they bring you in
and just leave you.
Yeah.
So
You have to die of starvation.
Oh, okay.
So they would not shoot you inside, but they would bring you here to suffer before you die.
I'm assuming once those doors are closed, you don't get much air in the
If all the doors are shut, one, the second in the middle, the third here. Even the door is open, you can see how.
Yeah.
So what's the capacity? How many people do they have in here?
Well, it depends on the number of people who try to escape. And once they brought you out in here, until all of you die, unless everyone is dead, nobody moves out. So let's see portions of the underground tunnel. Please watch your head as you walk. It's not an entry point, neither is it an exit point. A soldier will be stationed here just to recount the numbers moving from the fifth chamber to confirm that everyone was moving. So all his work was to stand here to ensure that they were moving. You can have a quick look at it. Don't go too deep. Just have a quick look. Because you cannot climb out from that end. You cannot go down.
Okay. So he would literally stand there and count.
So would the people be
from the fifth chamber, you will see them moving to the exit. I'll show you the exit point of the tunnel.
Are they shackled at this point, or are they just?
They were still bound to the show.
So wait, that's the chamber.
Yeah, these are the underground tunnel.
Oh, okay.
To the door of the tunnel. Let's see the exit point of the tunnel. Here we have the exit point of the underground tunnel. So from the fifth chamber of the mill dungeon, this is where you exit from. It was as well sealed in the year 1834, just like the entrance. There's an initial door of no return, something very small. So in chains and in shackles, you have to bend through this, march through one at a time. So because this is right behind the castle and the waves were coming in, because of the sea it sits right behind the castle. So the waves were coming in, disrupting business. They had to lock this end to relocate the door of no return. Let's see where they took it.
Because these are like the rebellious ladies.
In here, you'll be fed once a day through this opening.
Once.
From what opening? Once a day?
Here you urinate and defecate. Ladies who were brought in here were to serve between a 7 to 10 day term.
And then they die.
Why No, women were not left to die like the men.
Okay.
Why were they brought in here? It is left for those who decided to resist. Women were in the castle. So once they took you inside and you resisted, they wouldn't force you, but you'd be punished.
They bring you here.
After serving your 7 to 10 day term here, you'll be given the smaller cannonballs. I doubt a man can hold it for like 30 minutes. 3 of such balls. I doubt. Personally, I haven't tried, but I doubt a man can carry it for up to 30 minutes. You have to carry 3 of these balls and walk with them. If any should fall, you have consented to it. That is to say, no candidate of in the castle, once singled out, was able to escape their abuse. Because what they would ask you to do, you would definitely not be able to fulfill. Let's see the female dungeon. 300 to 400 women now. Similar conditions to that of the men. You eat here, you sleep here, you urinate here, you defecate here. But unlike the men, I always choose to say, to me, the conditions for the women, for me, was worse. Why? Menstruation. You see, you would spend between a day to 3 months. Just picture a woman in her blood. She flows heavily, and in the middle of the day, she hasn't been able to change herself.
Yeah.
Just picture the discomfort. So then bring it back to a woman staying in her blood for 3 months. That would necessitate they cleaning you first before they take you inside. So once you are appointed for the abuse, they take you out, give you a shower, feed you, then they take you up. Once that is done, you return to the dungeon. If women were in the castle, then definitely some would be pregnant. If you were fortunate, highlight fortunate, to be found pregnant in the castle, that was good for you. Why? You'd be taken out of the dungeon, out of the castle, into brick houses they had outside the castle. Their nurses will take good care of you for you to deliver. Once that is done, you breastfeed your baby for 3 months. Thereafter, the baby is taken from you, you return to the dungeon to await the next ship. Why? The babies were considered to be their blood. The babies were considered to be theirs. So then they would not subject them to similar inhumane treatment. Rather, they would be educated in the church on top of them. So that church would double as the classroom brought for them. That was a mixed race. They would grow to be aristocrats there. The big men we had in the society there. Some themselves chose to be merchants because of what they saw growing up. What then happens to those unfortunate to be found pregnant en route to the Americas? That was your end. You'll be taken, thrown straight into the sea. So let's see the door of no return. Famous door of no return. Just like I indicated there earlier, it was very small. In chains and in shackles, you pass through this door, one at a time. The Europeans would use a stairs outside called the golden stairs to and fro. They were mighty to bend passing through this door. So they were not using this as a review. Passing through this door as an enslaved African, that was your end. You lose your right as a human being, you lose your dignity, your roots, your identity, everything human about you. Why do I say that? Getting there, you become a property of someone. The camera is yours. If you see no use for it again, you can smash it, you can dash it out, you can burn it. What you saw fit doing with your property is what you do with it. That becomes of you as a slave, as a human being sold there. You become a property of someone. What the person sees fit doing with you is what he or she does with you. So you lose your right and dignity as a human being. You see, the women were taken because of procreation. So then, human beings were made to mate like animals. You be paired to do the act, not because you were attracted to each other, but they just needed the numbers. Let me talk about why you lose your root and your identity. Assuming a set of slaves are sold to a particular plantation, let's just say the plantation is called the Blankson plantation. Automatically we all answer to Blanksons, regardless of where you're taken from. I mentioned that Africa was a bare land with no political demarcations. So Nigeria, up north, wherever you are taken from,
Then we all answer Blankson, Stephen, Samson, Thomas, James, Matthew, Cecilia, Philippa. What name they chose to call you was what you are going to answer to. You are then forced to learn the tongue of your master, which is to say, if you are sold to an Englishman, you have to learn to speak English. If you are sold to a French, you have to learn to speak French. They were not going to communicate with you in your language. You would have to be responsive to their commands. If not, you'll be punished. You have to learn their tongue. You are losing your identity as an African. Why do you lose your root? Assuming one man captured is just an assumption, because I doubt anyone would remember his or her route back home. But let's just say there's an old man amongst them who actually remembers your way back home. And my child, because he answers Blankson and we are all Blanksons, believe this man is my grandfather or my great-grandfather. Let me try to trace my ancestry from him. I am a Ghanaian. Perhaps he's a Nigerian or a Beninois. He comes from Benin. I'm from Ghana. So even if he remembers his way back home, it is to Benin and not
not to Ghana.
So if you go to him to trace your roots, and he even is able to give you an accurate direction back home, it is to his hometown and not yours. So you lose your roots, your identity as an African, you lose your dignity, you lose your human rights and everything human about you. Let's see what lies beyond the door of no return. We thank God we are not slaves, we are certain to return. Good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, the door of no return. There's the golden stairs I was talking about. So this is what they would use to and fro the castle. This shore we stand here today is a very rocky and a shallow coast. The sea defense we see around are a little over 3 years. This is an initiative by the government. Because of sand winning activities here, the sea was entering the township. So this is an initiative to curb that menace. Gone were the days the sea could come up to this level. So the ship would dock far from shore, then they would sail or come to the castles with boats and canoes. Here, the enslaved Africans in chains and in shackles would park in the canoes or the boats, then to the ship. But you see, Africans believe in reincarnation. You believe that if you die, you'll be rebirthed. And then some believing in reincarnation knew and believe that dying here in Africa, there is a chance that you'll be rebirthed again. So I'd rather choose to die here on my land than to die So sailing to the ships, some would decide to jump into the sea. Some, because they were captured from the hinterland, had never seen the sea before. So out of fear, they would just jump. But then the painful bit is because they were in chains and in shackles, bounded together. If 1, 2, or 3 decided to jump, they have to be bounded together with them. So some were bold and courageous enough to choose death over captivity. Unfortunately, others were not willing to die, but would have to die with them. But once you made it to the ships, you packed on shells like sardines, then the voyage began. If we turn, we see the door of return. They had this here during our maiden part Emancipation Day celebration. The mortal remains of 2 enslaved Africans were flown in by their descendants. One, Madam Crystal from Jamaica, the other, Samuel Carson from New York. They were flown into Ghana, driven to Abanzi, where you have Fort Amsterdam. Just 20 minutes drive to Cape Coast, driving from Accra. To your left, there is a fort called Amsterdam. I don't know if you saw it coming in. No. You can check it before you leave. From the fort, they were brought back to the castle through the sea. Very symbolic. Right through this door. It was to break that jinx, that mentality that as an enslaved African, marching through this door, there was no return for you. To speak to our brothers and sisters in the diaspora. If you are there and you see the need to come back home, to trace your ancestry, feel free to return. A special funeral celebration was held in there for them, dubbed the Great Homecoming. Thereafter, they were taken to Asin Mansu to be reinterred. Why Asin Mansu? We mentioned that slaves were captured across West Africa, so we couldn't ascertain as to whether they were Ghanaians or not. But one thing for a fact is, you would pass through Asin Mansu to take your last and final bath as an enslaved African. We saw it wise to rebury them there. Today, if you should visit Asin Mansu, you see the grave stones of Madam Crystal and Samuel Carson. Let's come inside where the Akwaba is to conclude. Yes. Touring the Cape Coast Castle. Visiting the Cape Coast Castle. To some people, it is just amusement, fun, relaxation. To some, this is a spiritual pilgrimage to get them to reconnect to their roots and their ancestry. So passing through this door and back, we welcome you to the Kipru's Castle, regardless of what you came to look for. The Obamas visited the castle in 2009. Barack Obama is the only American president that came to Ghana and decided to come to Kipru's. Everybody comes, does his business in Accra and leaves. Why? Because Michelle Obama believes to have traced the ancestral roots from Ghana. So she believes to be a Ghanaian.
For real?
And the actor began from the door of return. She unveiled this plaque to welcome her back home, a very symbolic one. I mentioned during my introduction that my mission was to give you a brief history about Kipru's Castle, its contribution to the transatlantic slave trade, and as well to send a message that never in the history of humanity should you have things as such we carry. In the year 1992, the National House of Chiefs brought a plaque to say sorry to for their contributions to the trade. To say sorry, it reads, in everlasting memory of the anguish of our ancestors, may those who died rest in peace, may those who return find their roots, and may humanity never again perpetuate such injustice against humanity, and that we the living vow to uphold this. A little I have to add to it, that if we have ourselves in any space, we find ourselves anywhere, and there's any form of injustice, criminality, wrongdoing going on, please don't hold your peace, speak out. You see, slaves were captured across West Africa. They marched on foot in chains and in shackles. I don't think they vanished and disappeared into the grass. They passed through towns. People actually saw them walking through their towns. What did they do about it? Nothing. They are not related to me. It is none of my business. I do not know from anywhere. That is that kind of mentality. Because it was not them or directly related to them, they did nothing. That if they spoke and fought them, I don't think it would have gotten to this extent. So I treat as well that once we find ourselves in any space and there's any wrongdoing going on, we shouldn't hold our peace, but we should rather speak out. For our words probably might be the last straw that will affect the change we always see. My name once again is Nana Kwapia, and it's been a pleasure leading you around for this talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Madasi. You do the tour every day, right? So how does it make you feel, knowing that you're a true Ghanaian?
Well, let's just see, the beginning stages, they are emotional, but over time, I've done it over and over again. So
Yeah.
That's my second year here, so I think sometimes it still gets emotional. When you speak to some tourists, and the outburst of emotions gets you emotional sometimes. Now I think I've moved past that because it's something I'm doing every single day.
I hear that, man. Well, thank you once again, man. Corey, Tish, what you lot saying? How do you find that?
Insightful but painful. Very painful.
What are you saying, Corey?
Yeah, insightful. You don't want to believe a lot of it, and then you see it and then you have to believe it. But like you said, hopefully something like this will never happen again and it's up to us to speak out like stuff like this now, man.
Yeah, because that was emotional, guys.
Yeah.
That was real life, that was real history right there. He was in the dungeons and that. Like, how can someone be so evil to treat people like that, man?
Men and women.
Men and women.
And women. You don't understand.
But we're like Tisha, it was very insightful. It's good that we got to learn about this stuff.
And you came through the door on the return.
Yeah, we went through the door no return and we come back through it.
That's right.
About no return. Don't refund that.
Exactly.
Nah, but hope you guys have liked the content. Like, share, comment. See, man, I'm not even my happy, energetic self right now.
How can you be?
But
So much history, so much pain. But we did it.
comment, like, share. Hold it back at you, bro. Peace. Charlie Noir, much bulletproof love. Au revoir.
He's back at it again. Yeah. You haven't seen a mini man like this before, have you? Down. Everybody stand.
Breakfast. Breakfast for Champions. Bam.